What a setup out there. This is a very unique time to be presenting because, there's a lot of enthusiasm there, and this is new. It hasn't quite trickled down to developers or the Explorcos yet, but you can see it is palpable. Corp yesterday, multi-billion-dollar silver producer, released their last quarter's earnings. They went up 20% yesterday. The margin expansion on these sorts of companies is absolutely insane at these levels. Today it went up another 12%. They did hundreds of millions of dollars of volume. You're seeing junior silver producers, single asset silver producers, precious metals companies absolutely running. I shared a stage here last year with Avino. They've been the #1 performing silver company in the world this year. They're up 300, 400%. It's been amazing. The margin expansion, just from $2.5 million in free cash flow to 10, it's wild. And yet, my investors, the developers, the Explorcos, we haven't quite seen that enthusiasm come in yet. But as with every sort of cyclical bull market, there's a generation, there's a processional effect that happens. You can see the dominoes falling in real time as they're about to. And what we have right now, I'm going to tell you about our discovery, which 4 years ago I presented it as we're about to start drilling the first hole into it. I'm going to tell you today how we're focused on upgrading our ounces, about how we're expanding our resource, how we're going to get permits for this, driving that forward very quickly, and how we're ultimately going to de-risk this forwards towards production. We think that this is going to be the next silver mine coming online in America. My lawyer's going to make you guys read this. This is one of his. There's only one of them in here, I promise. It's just this. As a side benefit, if any of you have trouble sleeping on planes, 2 paragraphs in, you're out. Okay, so what can we see happening in the markets right now? As I said, if you look at our stock chart, it's constructive. I mean, we're sort of sideways. We're up a fair bit from where we were last year. Value, we've raised a lot of money, but we're sort of hanging in there. But what the stock price doesn't say, the volume does. Now this year, volume, we're up over 150% dollar volume year to date versus this time last year. We're sitting on $17.4 million of cash that as of Q1, and that's allowed us to put together our most ambitious program where we can drive our project forward from our PEA that we announced last September towards, as I said, permitting this thing, upgrading our ounces, expanding the resource, and ultimately going underground, all of which we hope to be able to do by the end of next year. We had some enthusiasm last week in the sense that we were just included in the SIL ETF, the Global X Silver Miners Index, which is a big vote of confidence. And last year, we had the support of Eric Sprott, who gave us half of all the money we raised last year, and who's now easily our largest shareholder and certainly my most favorite. Actually, no, I like a lot of you here too. Along the way, we've picked up a lot of analyst coverage too, because in the silver universe, unlike the gold space or copper space, there's really not that many development-ready projects that can be driven forward quickly. We're one of about 5 that will move the needle, either from our perspective or from a takeout perspective for a major mining company. And, we've picked up a whole bunch of analysts along the way. So what are we talking about? We're talking about our Tonopah West project, which is the consolidation of a project, a district that's the reason why Nevada to this day is known as the Silver State. Our project, our district, it's the queen of the silver camps. The king would have been the Comstock Lode. It's the second largest historic producer, and we were the first group to be able to come in 100 years after the last ounce was produced and consolidate all of these old claims, picking up from where these old timers left off. And we started drilling summer of 2020. Here we are. We've already delineated 100 million ounce silver equivalent resource. That's about 48 million ounces of silver and 577,000 ounces of gold. But what makes this unique is that this is the highest grade silver development project in the world right now by a substantial margin. We put out, after 150,000 meters of drilling, this PEA was based on our first economic analysis of sort of what this project will look like. And it's looking like, this is stale by the way, but 8.6 million ounces per year produced at cash costs under $12 an ounce, all in sustaining costs. This has the potential to be one of the lowest cost mines in the world, and that's because of the grade. At 570 grams per ton silver equivalent, 55% higher head grade, higher mining grade than the next closest pure comp. You know, being in Nevada is a great place to be anyway, but what makes this project a standout in the sense of just developing it and driving it forward is the fact it's on private land, patented claims. What that means is that, you know, even though the Trump administration is fast-tracking lots of mines right now and expediting the process, our project already is expedited. We don't deal with the federal government on anything when it comes to permitting. It's just the state and the county. And a lot of our summer program this year is focused on getting all of the data behind the scenes we need so that when we're ready with our updated engineering plans following our resource in September, we'll be able to hand all that data to the regulators, and then ultimately we can start looking at how we're going to get underground and mine this thing. As I said, this district, 100 years ago, Tonopah, not only was it seen as the richest place on earth, it saved Nevada after the Comstock load had petered out. They say Nevada became a state because of the Comstock, and it stayed a state because of Tonopah. In 30 years of real commercial production, it produced just under 400 million silver equivalent ounces. And it didn't stop mining, clearly, because they ran out of gold and silver. It stopped mining due to some technical issues of the day. In fact, we've proven that here just in 4 years on the drills. We've effectively drilled out another Tonopah district. All of that historic production came from 7.5 million tons. Our current resource is already 6 million tons. So for our economics, we used $23 silver, $1,900 gold, $23 silver. And at those prices, which seem ridiculous now, you're looking at an after-tax IRR of 40%, effectively a 2-to-1 NPV to CapEx ratio. And as I said, all-in sustaining costs of under $12. Now, we wanted to tackle two things on the drills after this came out, and that was there's a roughly 8-year mine life here and a 2.3-year payback. So when I say upgrade, what we're doing right now with our drilling is we've just finished off an M&I program, which is focused on upgrading all of our ounces in that initial 2 to 3 year period of production. We're using the mine plan to effectively upgrade those ounces in the confidence to de-risk our ability to actually make that decision to go underground and then, of course, expand. We think we can take this well beyond 10 years just at the current 1,500 ton per day mill and potentially look at upsizing production numbers beyond that. What makes this very unique, I mean, in America, gold was just called a critical mineral, but silver, this with, you know, if I broke down the silver equivalents every year, you know, about 4 to 6 million ounces of silver is going to be produced from this, which will jog domestic American production by 12 to 15%, depending on the year. This is a very, very catalyst-heavy period for us. As I said, we took the dilution in January to allow a very heavy-duty program, which is going to allow us to now start to, reap some crops here. We're finishing off a 35,000-meter drill program right now, all of which is going to be incorporated in a new resource estimate in September, which is finally going to give us a significant M&I credit and de-risk those initial ounces. I think in terms of our valuation, there's a bit of skepticism as to our ability for the high grade to hang together. And what we've seen, even in our results we released yesterday, we hit an 11.5 meter zone of over a half kilogram per ton silver equivalent. What we're seeing right now is that the areas where the tonnage are is also where the areas where the grade is. So an ambitious plan, ultimately by 2027, we'll be underground, we'll be drilling, and we'll be test mining. This is Tonopah today. It's very historic, beautiful, charming mining boomtown. This was the most state-of-the-art mining camp in the world of its time. It was the first to use electricity. As you can see, this is that same street, 1900, horse and buggy, but you'll see the electric power lines. And really, effectively, where our property starts, right at the edge of where our property starts is where the last two mines in the districts were producing. And what you'll see now is that we've now followed. What we've noticed is there's two sets of rings of veins, which we're tracking. We've tracked over kilometers and kilometers. The red represents our current 100 million ounce resource. The purple represents the vein extensions, which we've already identified and are in the process of locking in via the drill bit. This is truly a paint-by-numbers approach to growing a system. And, you know, we're literally picking up in something that 100 years ago was known as the richest place on Earth, and it's coming together very, very quickly. This is going to be a very pivotal year for us as we get our M&I numbers out, as we get our permitting initiatives underway, and ultimately as we drive this forward to being the next silver mine in America, and a high margin one at that. So I'll leave that there. Thank you.